Verse 33, again, you've heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. But let your yes be yes, and your no, no, for whatever is more than these is from the evil one. Another area where you can see if your flesh is enthroned or if Christ is enthroned is in your integrity, your character, your trustworthiness, your honesty. Do you lie? Are you dishonest? Do you keep your word when you make a promise? Do you have to convince people to trust you? Do you have to say, I swear, I promise. I'll swear on a stack of Bibles. Or do you let your yes be yes and your no, no? Verse 38, you have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, not to resist an evil person. But whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also. If anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak also. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to him who asks you, and from him who wants to borrow from you, do not turn away. Again, if you're in the flesh, if you're controlled by the flesh, and someone mistreats you, well, your flesh wants to retaliate. Your flesh wants to strike back. But when Christ is enthroned and someone mistreats you, you don't retaliate. You don't strike back. Again, the fruit of the Spirit is self-control. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 20 says, when you do good and suffer, if you take it patiently, this is commendable before God. For to this you were called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps, who committed no sin, nor was deceit found in his mouth, who when he was reviled did not revile in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but committed himself to him who judges righteously. When Jesus was reviled on the cross, he didn't revile in return. He didn't retaliate. Instead, he committed himself to him who judges righteously. And when Christ is enthroned in your heart and in your life, instead of retaliating, you say, you know what? I'm just going to commit this situation to the Lord. I'm going to put it in his hands. I know he'll take care of it. I know he can protect my reputation. I know he can defend me. I know he'll do what's right. And this is an opportunity for me to be salt and light before this person. Verse 43, you've heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brethren only, what do you do more than others? Do not even the tax collectors do so? Therefore, you shall be perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect. And how I respond to my enemies now, how I respond to my enemies reveals if my flesh is enthroned in my heart or if Christ is enthroned in my heart. When Christ is enthroned, I can respond to my enemies with love. Now, why should I respond to my enemies with love? Here's why. I'll tell you why. Romans chapter 5, verse 10 says that when we were enemies of God, we were reconciled to God through the death of his Son. When we were enemies of God, the Bible says we were enemies of God through our sin and through our wicked works. And when we were enemies of God, God responded to us with love. And God sent his Son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for us, to save us and give us eternal life when we were enemies. And now through Christ's power in our lives, we can show love and kindness to our enemies. And here you have this person that, yes, they've done us wrong, they've mistreated us, they've abused us, or whatever the case may be, and yes, they're an enemy. But I'm going to show love to them. I'm going to show kindness to them. I'm going to bless them however I can. I'm going to pray for them. Because that's what Christ did for me. You know, and as we've gone through each of these 6 examples and kind of 6 areas of life that are common to all of us, maybe you've realized there's some areas of your life where Christ is not enthroned. Maybe you struggle with anger issues, or maybe you struggle with lust, or maybe in your marriage, or maybe your character is not trustworthy, or maybe you do desire revenge on someone who really did you wrong. Or maybe you struggle to show love and kindness to your enemies. Well, you realize now that you're poor in spirit. So you go back to the Beatitudes and you mourn over your condition. You mourn that you have anger in your heart. You mourn because you struggle with lust. You mourn because you're so selfish in your marriage, or you're not trustworthy, or you do desire revenge, or you don't show love to your enemies. Whatever it is, you mourn over that. You mourn over your spiritual condition, and you surrender that area of your life to Christ. And then Jesus Christ then will do a work in your heart so that you can live in such a way that you're salt and light and you bring glory to your Father in heaven.